After graduating from Fine Arts School, Esther Bossart was looking for a way to support herself. Reflecting on the role that work occupies in our lives, she focused on certain criteria around work to guide her decision-making. Drawing on the growing urban farming movement, Esther set up a florist and gardening business with a difference, selling heirloom and wildflowers at the Dunedin Farmers Market.
I started Company of Flowers probably after a lot of thinking about what the role of work is in our lives. I had spent a couple of years painting and working various part-time jobs and kind of like a series of events, and a job that I did really like started to make me think about really what is the role that work plays in our lives, other than just paying the bills. Work should be interesting, like you shouldn't be bored, it should contribute to your communities, it should positively impact your environment if you can. I got given this book called Florette Farm by a woman who started a flower farm in America, and it was pretty much her story and a step-by-step guide for how to start your own flower farm. And just at that point my parents had moved down from Wellington, so I thought, well, this is probably quite a good time to take a risk and just try it out, because if it all goes bad I can just go and live with them for a bit and get another job in some shop for a while. So I decided I'd give it a go. I started off buying $80 of seed and I didn't have any land, so I put a little ad out in the North East Valley newspaper and on lots of Facebook sites actually, like gardening sites. Dunedin Locavores was like a really good one, just to see if there was any land that I could use for my experiment, because it definitely felt like an experiment then. I got lots of responses, and so I ended up taking on random bits of land and starting from there. And then later on I applied for a youth development grant from the government, and then they gave me some money to start off as well. So that was maybe about a year in. At the moment, since I'm still very small, I'm just doing events and then also the market, and I do deliveries on Mondays and Fridays. So I've got an internet site now, so either I might get an order through my internet site or people might email me an order. It has to be in the night before, because that gives me time for the next morning to go out to my gardens and harvest all the flowers, and I come back here, sort out all the flowers, bunch them up, and then deliver them in the evening to all the respective places. I really enjoy like foraging and using things that grow kind of quite easily or naturally in Dunedin. I think there's a couple reasons. The first one is I think it helps you to enjoy the place where you live and appreciate your own spaces and community and city and things. Also because it's a lot lower carbon emissions and things if you just use what's around. That just makes sense to me. Also, I am particularly fond of grasses at the moment, which are all just starting to get their seed heads to develop. I love when you put them into bouquets. It sort of casualises them a bit, makes them a little bit more accessible and to people rather than this very formal thing, which flowers can often feel like. And I also like they're very expressive and they flop around and move and they make the whole thing kind of come alive. A lot of people own houses and then you have to work full time just to pay off your mortgage, so you don't really have time or energy for your garden. But so it's quite good for me because in this way I get land and that way they don't have to worry about their garden and they get to look at beautiful flowers. So this garden belongs to Rachel and Russell and it's a half-acre section, and I've been working on this one for about a year now. Originally the whole garden was planted by a woman who lived in the house till her late 90s, and once she died Rachel bought the house, but because both Rachel and Russell work full-time they don't have time to maintain the garden, so sort of like we've got this exchange going. So for the past year I've slowly been working through and clearing and weeding and pruning all the existing plants, and as I go I'm also introducing new plants and planting my own things in here, and in exchange for helping look after the garden I can use all the flowers that are already here for my bouquets and things. In the future I would like to be able to employ people probably specifically for working in the garden, because I find working in the garden, using your hands, being outside, watching things grow really fulfilling, and I'd like other people to have really engaging, interesting, joyful jobs. I've got snapdragons in here and some various different types of lilies. Tim and Andrea are the second people who I started having a garden with. They both work a lot, so they don't have a lot of time to work in the gardens. So they were quite pleased for me to come along and start building garden beds all over their grass, so then Tim didn't have to mow the lawns as much.
I came about through an ad in the local Valley Voice. Andrea, my wife, saw it and mentioned it, and I thought, this is a good idea because I don't like cutting grass. I've got a bit of lawn, and if someone wants to grow flowers that I can look at and we don't have to cut grass, that's a win-win. And it's great to see Esther's able to get a little business of her own going. We get to enjoy her skill and her ability as a gardener without pretty much any effort at all. Yeah. So, how can you not like that?